Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. This is Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right. Thank you all, certainly, once again for chiming in. Has been a beautiful day once again. Take a look, folks. Just as bright and sunny. So, as I stated in one of my last videos, please put the devices down for a moment and get outside and enjoy this. All right, I'm gonna try to make this pretty quick, but it's certainly important. This video is kind of the product of a discussion I was having. So, angels, we're keeping it spiritual, folks. Angels and the existence of other higher dimensional beings is certainly a polarizing topic, and one that invites an innumerable amount of varying opinions, right? And conclusions that folks may draw on that subject about the existence of higher dimensional beings, angels, other spiritual entities, right? But sticking specifically to angels, if we go on the information that is relayed to us by our indigenous brothers and sisters, folks who maintain their tribal lifestyles, right? I'm talking about folks on this continent, folks on the African continent, which I hate to really use that word African, but another video. Australia, all over the world, right? Indigenous folks, folks who are tied into the wisdom of the ancients, right? Will verify and speak about the existence of such beings and how they truly do interact with and are very much a part of humanity's development, right? Our evolutionary progress and our ascension, right? Think about it, just as I stated how the planet itself, right? How Gaia has a vested interest in our ascension. Certainly there are many higher dimensional or spiritual beings or entities that would also have great interest in well, for one, Gaia, right, and her well-being and her divine expression, right, this planet, and the progression of all its inhabitants, right, and certainly as human beings being the most, or potentially the most advanced, or amongst the most advanced beings on this planet, then certainly those beings would have a vested interest in our progress in terms of our growth, right? Our spiritual growth, our ascension, all the things that would allow us to attain a higher dimensional status, if you will, on this planet. Now, when we speak of angels, we are esoterically referring to a group of masters, right? Master beings, and when I say master, They have mastered. See, it's incumbent upon human beings, upon people to master ourselves as the divine beings that we are. Angels, to understand a little bit more about their mastery specifically, it's right in the name. Angels, right? Angles. They are the masters of the angles of light, right? We are talking about the beings who masterfully bend light to angles in a masterful way, right? Um, these beings have the ability to bend light completely around their physical um, being whenever they do incarnate into a corporeal form. They have the ability to do that, which would render them essentially invisible to us. Well, why, King Sadiq, would they be invisible just because they are essentially, for lack of a, well, not for lack, but just in a more basic way of saying it, essentially wrapping themselves angularly in light? Why wouldn't we be able to see them? Because we can see light. Well, pause there for a minute. Do we actually see light? Not so much, right? Most of the time, not so much human beings with our eyes. We see light sources. We see bright places of light origination, right? Where light originates at, light sources, we see that glow, and we recognize that. We see the refraction of light upon different surfaces or objects, right? And that is how those objects become visible to us. But do we actually see light, right? Not really. Not so much, at least not with our two front-facing eyes, right? Um, Another video will talk a little bit about what you're capable of seeing with your inward eye, or what is commonly referred to as your third eye, um, but more accurately is your pineal organ, right? Um, Certainly, again, I'm not going to get into that too much, but you have greater ability to visualize or be able to sense and process a great deal more of the full spectrum of light, right? Um, what we actually see as human beings with our two front-facing eyes is a rather limited range or section of the light spectrum, right? And again, what that affords us is to be able to recognize and see light sources, to see refracted light off of surfaces or objects, right? But we don't actually detect visual light, right? Um, at least not in a very clear and coherent way for our brain to process it, which I guess that can be a whole nother video too. But yeah, that is why we don't actually see angels, because we don't actually see the light that they're bending around them, right? Um, they literally have mastery over photons, right? Which of course is the subatomic particular reference to light, right? Photons. They have complete mastery over photons and over the ability to bend those photons in an angular way, right? And they actually exist in terms of I guess, a layman's way for us to think about that. They actually exist within the angles of light, right? Um, which would explain why we literally do not see them. That also starts to touch on the dimensional science and some other things as well. But yeah, they are the masters of the angles, right? And thus the masters of the angles of light and of bending light in an angular fashion, which you can extrapolate out into all sorts of incredible abilities, right? That we would attribute to an angel, right? These again are the masters of the angles of light. All right. I just wanted to make that real quick. I actually will likely revisit this subject um, and offer some more specific details on how this correlates to our reality um, through a um, a metaphysical, or better yet, a quantum scientific lens, right? So look for me to do that soon. But for now, we'll close it out. And that video, hopefully, can at least inspire some conversation, right? Uh, yeah, it should do that. All right. Word life. So we can't see angels because we can't see light. Word life. Big King Sadiq. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Out.